Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 170 of the SplashCast. I am your co-host, Reggie.
And I am your co-host, Norwood. Our powers combined, we are your HBCU homeboys. Welcome to the groove. Have a seat. Have a beverage. We're going to cover some HBCU with my boy, Reg. Let's get to it.
Yeah, man, I had to charge the tablet, so now I got the game on, so I'm good now. Woo! 17-17. Oh, Cowboys versus Bengals.
Who?
The Cowboys versus the Bengals.
Two teams is not playing for nothing?
Well, no, but I mean, both of them are not too far off from the Falcons, so there's that. But with that being said, welcome, brother.
No, wrong. Hell no. We ain't starting out like that. Reggie tripping, y'all.
What's the Falcons' record? What's the Falcons' record?
6-7.
The Cowboys are 5-7.
Okay, all right. And they are playing for nothing. They're already eliminated.
Yeah.
Okay, we ain't been eliminated yet. So until eliminated. Until ESPN put that big stupid, and they do that every year, eliminated from playoff contention. I'm so happy to see the Cowboys eliminated from playoff contention. Oh boy. And somehow they still find a way to get talked about every week, even though they're not even playing football that nobody cares about. But we're not going to take away from HBCUs because that's who we love and that's who we're going to discuss.
Y'all know what it is when it comes to Monday Night Football. See what you did? Y'all know what it is when it comes to Monday Night Raw. We do our HBCU news around the culture, followed by our NCAA football, college football is something y'all call it. I call it semi-pro. Pro football, and then basketball. Yeah,
it's not even semi-pro no more. It's just less pro.
So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Let's get started with our HBCU news around the culture. Oh man,
start with your boys.
It is bowl season. Starts off this week. The HBCU National Championship is set. You have South Carolina State, led by Chennis Berry. First-year head coach Chennis Berry taking on the Jackson State University Tigers, led by TC. What's TC last name? Carter? Anyway.
I hate when you do that. Every time you do that, I forget. TC Taylor is his name.
TC Taylor.
Every time you ask him, then my mind just goes,
deer headlights. Deer headlights. But yeah, so
I ain't that either. We ain't gonna do that.
South Carolina State's undefeated in the MEAC, led by MEAC Player of the Year Eric Phoenix at quarterback, 2,500 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. They're averaging 36 points per game. Jackson State just defeated Southern University in the SWAC championship game. After a slow start, they turned up in the third quarter and won 41-13.
41-13. Junior quarterback Zion McDonald stepped up after Jacobian Morgan was injured. He ended up with 95 yards, 8 carries, 75 passing yards, 2 total touchdowns. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that we would have won, but I will say it was 10-3 Southern when the quarterback got hurt in the second quarter, and it was 3rd and 30.
Game around.
3rd and 30. It was 3rd and 30. I'm going to say it again. 3rd and 30. They ran a quarterback draw, and the O-line pulled the entire defensive line down. The coach was like, threw the play caller thing up in the air and walked back when the flag was thrown. The refs got together and said, face mask on the defense. The announcer said, what face mask? They played the replay 7 times. I have it recorded on my TV. There was no face mask. I said, oh, I know what's about to happen. They went and scored the next play. Then they got the ball at halftime, and they scored 17 straight points. I was like, oh, yeah, it's over with.
Actually, the second half was 31-3.
They scored 17 straight points in the third quarter. I watched it.
That is an old-fashioned butt cutting.
Once they got going,
you playing in my face, and I'm gonna show you my face ain't to be played in.
And the quarterback, he can run. And that was something, again, we'll talk about it with UGA in the SEC championship. When you have to play somebody you ain't prepared for, he was running all over Southern. But anyway, back to it. I don't want to.
That's 3 SWAC championships in 4 years for them?
Yes, because Alabama State won it last year. Yes, because they won 21-22 with Deion, 23 is Alabama State, 24 is them. And it's probably going to be 25. They're led by Irv Mulligan, who rushed for South Carolina State. Leading rusher had 500 yards. Jackson State leading rusher had 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns, 6.5 yards per carry. They averaged 37 points per game. They played 2 different styles. Now, the thing is, on defense, they are the same. They are the exact same. They rush the passer very, very well, and they play sound defense in the secondary. So I'm leaning towards. I'm not gonna tell y'all who I pick because we're gonna pick it on Saturday. But
this is
gonna be a good game.
Everything.
Yes,
it's a battle of players. It's a battle of coaches. This is a battle of blue blood HBCUs. And
real blue bloods.
I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Like, if I want to, and I'm going to say this loud because they say that the disrespect and the apology need to be the same tone. I'm doing better this year. I want to apologize for Deion. He had a succession plan in place with TC. He handpicked him as the next coach. TC has done everything that's been asked of him and more. My question is how much longer does TC stay at Jackson State?
First off, I'm glad you are learning and growing as a person. 2,
personal growth.
I don't know if I don't see TC's tied to Jackson State. Didn't he go to Jackson State? TC is
but
he's home. Like he grew up in the HBCU culture where coaches stayed for 40 years. He's not used to guys leaving, and we'll get to other coaches leaving after 2, 3, 4, 5 years and going on. That's not what he's used to. Now, the bag always changes everything. But
correct.
And
and to contextualize this, he is from Magnolia, Mississippi.
Yeah.
He played at Jackson State from 98 to 2001. He's been with the program since 2019.
Yeah, he worked his way to this point. This was his goal, to be head coach of Jackson State. So I don't know if he would leave. Honestly, if they get if he can get them now, and I talked with my dad as we was watching Southern get destroyed.
I know Pops Davis ain't like that. Huh?
No, and he had a little bit of that cognac in his system. Celebratory cognac. I talked about this with him, and I'm gonna say it here. The SWAC is gonna have to figure something out because the SWAC championship doesn't allow for any other team to go to the playoff.
Correct.
The MEAC, if North Carolina Central had only lost to South Carolina State, they would be in the playoff right now. They'd be in the FCS playoff. If you remember, it happened a couple years ago with Central and FAMU. Central won. FAMU had one loss before they went to the SWAC. They ended up going to the playoffs instead. The SWAC is going to have, and MEAC really, is going to have to figure out what they're going to do to include the rest of the teams that are good enough. Just so happens this year that there's not a lot of teams that were good enough. But I think Southern is good enough, and I think Howard is good enough for them to play in maybe another bowl, another HBCU bowl to play it in. Or I'm sorry, Central. I said Howard. Central. Southern, I think the runner-up should play each other, right? I think that should happen, and that should be the first place, second place, and third place game. Well, first place, second place, third place. I think that should happen because there's too much money out there. There's a lot of money that's being dedicated.
And it's opportunity. Virginia Union just played in the playoffs. They won the first 2 playoff games, ended up losing, I think like 49-14 to Valdosta State. But I mean, you won 2 playoff games. That's a hell of an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. So you have that there, and I think that would also incentivize people to stay. Yeah, I don't think TC Taylor's gonna leave, but I know if I were Chennis Berry, if you know he was an offensive line coach. He was down in Savannah before he went to Southern.
Correct.
If somebody starts, he in South Carolina. If somebody comes calling one of them teams with their NIL budget is up there, UNC looking for a coach. And now that Willie Simmons, and I guess we could talk about Willie Simmons too. Now that Willie Simmons, the pipeline for Willie Simmons has been proven to work, as he has been signed as the new head coach for Florida International University after he was the running backs coach at Duke. Now that has happened, and for my corporate folks that are watching, he's got that experience that he needed to get the job. Now that he went and got that experience, the plan is there. TC can follow this plan to a T.
If he can win at FIU, then I don't want to say it this way, but all the Fs are going to be Florida Atlantic, Florida Internet, like all of those schools. If you could win some games there, then that puts you in the place to kind of get that next step of job, which is
Florida State.
Not Power 5. Yeah, not Power 5, but outside, not straight to Florida State. He's not. I mean, let's be real. He's not white. If he was white, then yes. And he made Florida International have one of those type of seasons, then yes. You're Scott Frost of the world.
Florida State would be stupid if he wins there. Well, I'll let you. I want to get that off because that's a point you just made. I don't want to forget, but I don't want to cut you off.
Go for it.
He's at Florida. If Florida State, if he's successful at Florida International after being successful at FAMU, and Florida State doesn't get him, they are stupid. He's at FAMU in Tallahassee. He has all the recruiting pipeline at North Florida. He is now going to Florida International, who's in Miami. So then he will have recruiting in South Florida. He will literally have recruiting into both North and South Florida. If Florida State, and he becomes good, we'll get to the other schools in Florida that suck. But if he becomes good, y'all be dumb. You'd be dumb not to.
Florida State. I mean,
but don't tag it
Florida
yourself.
State
though.
is in a.
Mm-hmm.
Florida State is a trick bag right now, and I would probably stay away from Florida State. Let Mike Norvell until this Mike Norvell situation kind of unfolds. It's weird because Florida State was a really good football team. Then they had a really bad situation happen. I think that derailed their season this year. I just think that you just don't have it. And I
got one more year, bro. You got one more year not to make the ACC championship and let SMU get there. You will be a fired ass. Color don't matter there.
I think that color always matters. Absolutely. But I think that I just think that the ACC is so wide open that they could be right back in the ACC championship next year. And let's be real, I believe everybody's good that first year, but what do I always say? We gotta get some tape. Once you have some tape, things look different.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if SMU is going to have the same type of run next year. I think that we're going to talk about CJ Stroud, but once people got tape on you, that's when we really figure out how good of a team and a player you are. How do you? Because you're going to put a target on your back. And then how you come out of that really, to me, defines how good you are. One good year don't mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
That's like when teams run the Wildcat. You can't do that every game no more.
But like with FAMU, he's had more than one good year. He led the Rattlers to a 45-13 record. He was there for 5 years, averaging 9 wins a year. In his final year, he was able to go to the Celebration Bowl and win the championship and go undefeated first year in the SWAC, which is a big deal. So he has all of the pomp and circumstance behind him and all the accomplishments to back up his resume. I would love for him to look at, what's the quarterback's name, Malik Murphy? Why not? Hey, come on down. Florida International. You don't like it up here in Duke. Ooh. Now Duke may pay him some more money. They might pay him some more money.
Duke has more resources than Florida International, unfortunately. Now, I will say that I think the UNC should probably be looking at him instead of Belichick. I just think that what you're looking at right now, I don't understand how you can justify Belichick. We'll have that conversation, but I think that Willie Simmons is a guy who has been great at the HBCU level, went right over to Duke. They did miss a beat. And you're looking for a guy who's more of today's type of coach versus decade. Not even yesteryear, decade.
I agree. But to me, this wasn't even I'm happy for this applause. I'm happy for this. But I don't think this was the best coaching hire inside or outside of HBCU news, in news HBCU news. I think North Carolina A&T hiring Shawn Gibbs, huh? Yeah.
That's Cohen.
Yeah. Tyreek Cohen. I think North Carolina A&T bringing back running backs coach Shawn Gibbs, who was responsible for Cohen. He was responsible because there's a guy after Cohen that made it too. He was responsible for them. He ended up leaving North Carolina A&T and he went down to Fort Valley. You know what he did down there at Fort Valley, going 22-9 over 4 years, I believe. To come back to A&T, A&T has been rebuilding because they had to figure out a way that they were going to go. This, to me, reminds me of when Georgia waited on Kirby Smart for Mark Richt. This is the same thing. He is the coach to hire here. Shawn Gibbs is ingrained in the culture. He's probably not going to leave unless he's Willie Simmons, a T.C. Taylor type of success. Anybody that goes worst to first in anywhere is going to get hired away. But this is a hell of a hire. Shawn Gibbs is going to turn A&T around, and they are so excited in Greensboro. Oh, my God. My godmother went to A&T. Her son went to A&T. Everybody I know in Durham be going to A&T. We all got family and friends that went to A&T. They are so excited about this hire. They are throwing parties out there.
I'm excited for the hire. I think he's the right guy, but that's a job. It's it's a job.
100%.
You have to work that job. Don't let that job work you. You got a long way to go in a tough conference, as we all know.
Got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. And athletic department, you got to give them a chance.
Yeah, spend that money.
We keep having athletic departments that are going for shock and awe. They're trying to get somebody that could go there and win in the first year or two and control the portal like Jackson State and Deion Sanders. But if you look at everything else that has happened before, during, and after Deion, it isn't shock and awe. It's T.C. Taylor keep continuing to build. It's Buddy Pugh at South Carolina State. It's Chennis Berry bringing in a philosophy. It's Eddie George, who was given the keys and was allowed to build for 3 to 4 years. And now he's a conference champion and coach of the year who went to the playoffs. Athletic directors, let these guys cook. You have to establish relationships, especially at the FCS level, because the lack of resources.
And once again, this is the new thing, and it's not just for the PWIs or the Power 5. Y'all have a bunch of famous alumni. Just like Portnoy and that dude Ellison just bought their quarterback Bryce Underwood. HBCUs, y'all need to find these rich people, because we got them too, and buy some players. We got to play the same game that everybody else is playing, or we will not compete.
And use the race card. If it's the same, if the NIL money is similar for a player, hey, use the race card. I'm all for it. Use it. But yeah, shout out to A&T, man. That is one of the best hirings I've seen. Now, there's something that we call 180 degrees away from a point. It's called the opposite end.
Hire and fire, son. Why you say I'm kind? You're fired, son. Fire.
Norfolk State parts ways with Dawson Odoms, former Southern University coach. Went 4-8 this year. Norfolk State 2-3 in the conference. I think they got rid of him because of the underachievement or the perceived underachievement. They started off strong with a strong showing against Alcorn State. They got cheated against FAMU. We watched it. We talked about it. They did get cheated. Arcos.
Now, the thing for me with this situation is they had some quarterback injuries. I think they played three quarterbacks this season. Remember, we started out the season, their quarterback was suspended. I mean, I don't think they had a great season. I know they lost to Hampton. I don't know who else they lost to, but I don't know if I think that because you keep moving coaches, that's not a thing. That's not a good thing anyway. But for me, you better have another one. You better go make a good hire like A&T or you're going to look crazy. And you can't keep losing because they lost. Now that I know, I remember they lost to Howard and they lost to Hampton. Can't get that. Ain't going to get it done. For sure not going to get it done.
We were talking about Dawson Odoms. He was let go at Norfolk State after a disappointing year. It was unfortunate, but he's a really good coach. I would expect him to land on his feet somewhere as a defensive coordinator, defensive line coach somewhere. Hey, they got to put a roster together at A&T. He's right up the road. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up there because Norfolk State, and one thing his teams do really, really well is in the trenches. They run the ball well, and they play in the trenches well. They're tough. So everybody needs a coach like him.
Yeah, I mean, he went 6-5, 2-9, 3-8, 4-8. I'll get you fired. I mean, 79-72 is just not good enough.
Nope, not at no
15. No, excuse me, 15-31.
Yeah,
at Norfolk State. That'll get you fired. 63-32 at Southern.
It's unfortunate. Yeah, he's good at Southern. It's just unfortunate they didn't want to pay him, but it's just unfortunate because it's kind of like being in the SEC. You have to play against South Carolina State. You got to play against Howard. You got to play against North Carolina Central. You have those three teams that are basically running it, and then you are the top of the bottom tier. You're Norfolk State, Morgan State, Coppin. Well, Coppin ain't even there no more. Norfolk State, Morgan State. So you know he's going to end up somewhere. He might end up at Fort Valley. Isn't Fort Valley looking for a coach now? So you never know.
It's that time of year for that.
Yep. Now this was
speaking of it.
This was surprising, but it wasn't. I understand. So Alabama, for on the audio experience, Alabama A&M parts ways with Coach Connell Maynor, effective immediately. The athletic director Paul A. Bryant expresses gratitude over Maynor's contributions, but said it's time to move in a different direction. This news actually came out. It started coming out. This came out 6 days ago, right after we finished our pod. But the news that they were in negotiations and were kind of disgruntled came out probably about 8 days ago. But we didn't report on it because we didn't know what was going to happen. But they couldn't come to a crossroads, and they ended up parting ways. So that's another job that's open.
And 21, 7-3, 22, 4-7, Alabama. 23. They went 5-6, 24, 6-6. His time at Alabama A&M, 40-32, middle of the road.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like, I don't even think it's about being middle of the road. It's you're getting left. It's Southern, it's Jackson State, and the fact that Alabama State was pretty good with no quarterback, you can't get left by them and FAMU. Like they don't want to become no shade, but they don't want to become Bethune-Cookman, and I think that's where they're trying to avoid. So we'll see, man. But some of these coaching staffs are gonna get picked up too.
Man, he had 3 good years in first 3 years, 18, 19, 20. And then that COVID year, they was undefeated. Then after that, he just been kind of,
Yeah, Dion wrecked shop over there.
Yeah.
So you had that, and then of course, finally, the MEAC Hall of Fame class of 2025 has been announced. You have congratulations to all 5 of the members. You have Patricia Cage Bibbs, women's basketball coach at Grambling, Hampton State, and North Carolina A&T. Tariq Cohen, we just talked about his running backs coach just got a job. Wouldn't be surprised. He just retired too. He'd be a great running backs coach at North Carolina A&T. He has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Coach Buddy Pugh, we knew he was going to be inducted. He just had to retire. He ain't never want to retire, so they ain't never induct him. And then I think he might be the reason that they changed some of these rules because he took so long to retire. So, and then of course Harvey Reid from Howard University, as well as Rashida Suber, who is former Coppin State University player, 3-time MEAC Player of the Year, all-time leading scorer at Coppin State. The ceremony is March 13, 2025 in Norfolk, Virginia. Congratulations. Round of applause to all 5 of these members.
Great legacies for all 5 of these people. Congratulations again. And it is truly an honor to be inducted into the MEAC Hall of Fame.
Man, South Carolina State is on a Pittsburgh Steelers type run. They get one coach every 30 years, and they be going. And he go right on to the Hall of Fame when he finished. Like, because Chennis Berry on his way. On his way. On the way. But with that being said, we have come to the end of the HBCU segment of episode 170 of the SplashCast. We're going to take a second. I'm going to get me a beverage now, a little bit. And I'm going to come back. Yeah, you should. I'm going to come back and I'm going to bask in glory. I'm going to bask in glory.
It's going to be short-lived. And you know that. That's the reason. Enjoy yourself.
It will be. All right. See? Hubers. We'll be right back. Y'all stay tuned. College football on the way. We'll be right back.
Until next time. What should they do? Like, follow, subscribe. Thank you, my friend. Be here for it.